Donald Trump was our first celebrity president since Ronald Reagan. But despite his past forays into entertainment, Trump was not exactly loved in Hollywood. See, for instance, his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which had to be covered after repeated acts of vandalism. And during his administration, many in La La Land discovered their own political voices. Robert De Niro spoke out against the Donald during the Tony Awards. There was also Rob Reiner, basically any time he opened Twitter. And many times on this program, some of the entertainment industry's biggest stars have reflected on how they've been inspired to become politically active over the past several years.
America is supposed to be a land of promise and innovation, where we prioritize people and science, and we can be. We just have to reject Trumpism.
So I want people to vote so that my mom can feel safe leaving her house again.
Star Trek actress Jeri Ryan is someone who says she generally stayed away from politics before Trump took office. She joined me recently to discuss the new season of Star Trek Picard, in which she is back as 7 of 9, and to talk about how she became political in the age of Trump. Jeri Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight. Before we get to Star Trek, and I have much to talk about on Star Trek front, I do want to talk a little bit about you and about politics, because I was watching you on Star Trek Voyager back when I was in college in the late 1990s. But I didn't realize how politically active you were personally until I spotted you following me on Twitter and retweeting some of my more spicier political takes. Have you always been quite political? Or, no, like some Hollywood celebs I've interviewed, did the Trump years make you political, radicalize you?
Honest to God, I did not register to vote until the 2016 election. I was so apolitical. I wanted nothing to do with anything about politics. I just assumed that all politicians were equally gross, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I had zero interest. And then when that man ran for office and I saw that he had support from half of our country, that I couldn't believe.
You're talking about 2016, and by 2020, after 4 years of Trump, you're actually doing fundraisers for Joe Biden. You're putting out a video to try and raise money for him. Let's have a quick listen to some of that.
Supporting Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Democrats up and down the ticket across the country is more important than ever. And that is why I am so excited to reunite with a bunch of my fellow Star Trek actors, along with Stacey Abrams, Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, and Andrew Yang, in a grassroots fundraiser to support this team. And I want to see you there. Anything that unites Stacey Abrams and 7 of 9 is probably a good thing.
Amen.
But Joe Biden's ratings, I mean, that was when he won the election, very popular guy. Over a year in, you've seen his approval ratings. I mean, Ukraine's given him a bit of a bump as people have rallied around his strong leadership on Ukraine, but they've been on a downward trend. How do you think he's done as president in his first year in office?
Listen, I think he's doing a great job. His hands are tied. You can only do so much when the filibuster stands. And you have, 2 Democratic senators who essentially vote with Republicans on every issue. So you're just blocked. You can't do any legislation unless the Senate supports it, and the House. But, the House we've got. The Senate, the majority is so thin, and since 2 of them barely even act like Democrats or consider themselves Democrats or support anything that the Democrats are trying to promote, there's not much Biden can do. And realistically, I think whoever had won this last election was going to be a one-term president, probably. Because it's a no-win situation. You're in the middle of a pandemic. People are miserable. Yeah. And regardless of what happens, people are very short-sighted. They know what's immediate and what their immediate pain is. And they're going to blame it on whoever is in office, regardless of every Republican in the Senate being very outspoken about wanting to just block everything and just stop anything from happening, because they know who's going to get blamed. The president's going to get blamed. So, I mean, but we didn't elect Mr. Exciting. That's not who Joe Biden is. That's not who he's ever tried to be. He's a normal guy. He rode the train. He commuted on the train to work. he's just a normal, sane, good man. He's a decent human being, which we desperately needed.
When you're in the middle of a crisis, which might end up, God forbid, in a nuclear war, it's good to have some sanity at the very minimum at the top. Let's talk Star Trek. Has Star Trek always been a political show, do you think? Have political themes that are relevant to the times, even going back to when it started in the 60s?
Absolutely. I mean, Gene Roddenberry, there are quotes from him. He's been very open, or was very open from the beginning, that this was, a way to hold the mirror up to society. And saying, I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm paraphrasing him, but, that humanity will reach maturity at the exact moment when they learn to not only accept, but embrace each other's differences. And this has always been, with the sort of distance of science fiction, a safe way and a little less intimidating way, I think, for people to see that mirror held up to society, to show us how we're screwing up and what we could do, what we could achieve if we stop hating each other, that, everybody who's different from us, or being afraid of everyone who's different.
And on that note, back when season 1 of Star Trek Picard, which is the spin-off show you're currently in, we're on season 2 of that, when that came out, season 1, the Daily Beast said your show may be the most political show on TV, nodding to its themes around fascism, isolationism, refugees. Is that how you see it too? I mean, the current season is pretty politically relevant too, from what I've seen of it so far.
It's quite politically relevant, and it's going to get more directly relevant because we time travel in episode 3 to the present day, Los Angeles. So it's a little more direct mirror, I think, to what's going on. But but it's always been political. So I don't think this show is necessarily more political than any other iteration of it. It's just, we're on streaming, so you don't have, the network standards and practices and things that are a restraint on what you can say and do. And it's also, it's 20 years later.
Well, let me ask you something about the making of this show, because obviously the first season came out just before the pandemic began. This season's come out now. What was it like making as intense a show as that is, Star Trek Picard, during the pandemic with all the restrictions and risks, etc.?
It was scary. It was really scary. I was one of the few, I think, who were not chomping at the bit to get back to work. I was quite out of my house. It was scary because, we don't have a choice as actors. You have to take your mask off and be in other people's faces. We don't get that luxury of being protected and keeping masks on. And that choice is not ours when we're working. So it was tough coming back. It was a little unnerving at times, but for the most part, they tried to keep the scenes where all the cast are together, or a large number of cast or background are together, down to a minimum, I think. So most of the season, I end up split off with 1 or 2 other characters, and they kind of divided us up that way so that it was, for the most part, smaller groups.
So, Jeri, I have to ask, you're an outspoken female actor and activist. What kind of impact do you think the Me Too movement has had on Hollywood, on the entertainment industry 5 years on?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I honestly don't think there's a woman in Hollywood, certainly not a woman over the age of, say, 25, who hasn't had some sort of experience of harassment or something in the workplace. So you definitely feel the difference. People are much more aware of how what they're going to say or do would be received by somebody else. So people are I don't want to say they're not walking around on tiptoes, but you're more aware of what you say and how you act. And it's good.
And you've talked about how Hollywood used to be gross, but now on this show in particular, you've been able to work with female directors, female camera operators for the first time. Is that real change?
It's huge change. Yes, it's huge change. That was the first female camera operator I ever worked with, ever, in season 1. And female first AD, female directors. It's really it's refreshing. We can use more women, of course, always, but it's definitely moving in the right direction.
And just on Star Trek Picard, before we run out of time, I have to ask, what has it been like working with Patrick Stewart, the great Jean-Luc Picard himself, a living legend now, I think 81 years old and still going strong.
Yeah, no, he's a legend. He definitely is. And it was fun getting to get these two characters in particular together, because I think for the Star Trek fans, because they have such a rare connection, which is that both of them were assimilated at one point. So they're both former Borg. And so that's a very rare thing to have in common. So I think for years, the fans have wanted to see those two get together. Not get together.
Seven and Locutus. Seven and Locutus together on screen. There's the Trekkie in me. Last quick question. I know you were once married to a Republican Senate candidate. You're now playing a president in the current season of Star Trek Picard. Do you have any ambitions yourself to ever run for office, Jeri, in real life?
No. Oh my God, no.
So that's a maybe.
We'll leave that to Seven and her authoritarian regime.
Fair enough. We will have to leave it there. Jeri Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Star Trek Picard is streaming on Paramount+. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mehdi Hasan. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more of the Mehdi Hasan Show by clicking on any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thank you for watching.